What is a narcissist? What is narcissism? That word has been thrown around, especially in the last 5, 10 years, maybe even the last 5 or 10 months, very much more in our conversations, both intimately, family-wise, relationships, and just in general, Narcissism, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist, this is flagrant, malignant narcissism. Well, here's my interpretation or definition of what a narcissist or narcissism is. So it's grounded, or it's founded in, narcissism is founded in childhood challenge. So when we're children, we have different developmental stages that we grow through, and our personality develops. And one of the more critical ones is between 2 and 5 years old. And in that 2 to 5, again, to 6, in that area of growth, the human being is very narcissistic. We're supposed to be. A little kid, a toddler, doesn't understand. It is just starting to understand me, you, with their parents, and then me, you, with a sibling or, another child. But once they get to me, you, now me needs to be developed. And so in that developmentalist portion of life, they need to be all about themselves. So they're going to be more, pushy, grabby, individuating, fighty, whatever the case may be. But it's all about their desires, their needs, so to speak. So when a child is either neglected and not seen or heard when they're in that age period of growth, and they're not really able to develop through that, or if they're indulged, spoiled kind of thing, overindulged with, all about them, they can get stuck in this narcissistic phase of life and have it imprint and concretize in their personality that becomes their viewpoint for the remainder of their lives, meaning for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 40, 60, 80 years, or longer. And so what happens is when the child becomes stuck in that, everything comes from the point of view of self. There is no outside of self when it comes to emotionality. Physically there is, but when it comes to wants, needs, emotional needs, it's coming through the filter of self first. Now you say, am I a narcissist? You ask yourself that question, or you're asking me that. It doesn't matter. Either way, the answer is, once you ask that question, more than likely you're not. Because the narcissist never really can engage with that self-reflection, because it's all about, there's nothing wrong with me, there's something wrong with you. And so that's where the gaslighting and the shifting comes in. So if you are asking yourself that, the answer is no. However, it can be maybe sometimes. And the difference is when we can sometimes be narcissistic, it's more I call it self-absorption. We can all be self-absorbed with ourselves, both without paying attention, accidentally, or sometimes purposefully. We feel depleted or deprived, or whatever the case may be, so we knowingly make it about ourselves. That's actually healthy, even as a grown adult. But when we're doing it unaware, unwittingly, and constantly, and then creating the energy, I'm not a narcissist, you're a narcissist, and here's why. Once we start that whole shell game behind the narcissist, then we're not going to ask that question. And more than likely, that is the definition of a narcissist. Now, narcissism can have a spectrum. It can go all the way to one side, which is grandiose, blatant. There was a word, malignant narcissism, where the person is just like, it's just about me and I don't care about you and I'm better than you and all this kind of stuff. That's a grandiose. Or it could go all the way to the other side of the spectrum where they're very nice and considerate, and they actually can interact well. It's just that it's still coming from the filter of self. So what do I mean by that? The filter of self. So a narcissist, this came to me years ago, a narcissist can't say, I care about you. And they could say it, but they can't really mean it. What they're coming from, their filter is, I care about what you mean to me. So in that filter of, there is care about you, but it's really about what you mean to me. So, for instance, if I just care about you, I care about you. Whether you're good, bad, doing things for me, against me, with me, you're hurting. I might be hurt by you, might get into interaction, arguments or discussions or difficulties, but the reality is I still care about you, no matter what. Whereas a narcissist, as soon as I feel like you don't care about me, then what you mean to me is different. So I don't care about you, at least for that moment. And it can be conditionally pulled away. And so because they're hurt and they're scared or whatever the case may be. So I really, as a narcissist, can't care about you. I can only care about what you mean to me. And so when I'm the product of that as a child or in relationships, what happens is that can get very confusing. To care about what you mean to me means you care about me, and I can end up with just crumbs. And in that crumbs, I will try to get more and mirror the narcissist. Now, I'm going to go into that further in another discussion because there's a lot of stuff coming up here. Maybe I'll even make a series out of this because it's not just, the discussion isn't just about narcissists and narcissism. It's about who connects with that type of personality and why, and what that is within us that we connect with that. And I think it's a really important thing, and it's been touched on in certain ways. But I think it's really important to know that whether you're a narcissist or narcissistic, because if you're watching this and you're already probably saying, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, if you are one. If you aren't one, you may be looking at that, but more than likely you might be in relationship with one or have one in your family or something like that, and see how that impacts you or it's impacting others, and how to better deal with that situation. So a lot to unpack here, but the key is that narcissism is developed. It's developed as a young child, and it gets stuck. The child gets stuck in that, and they can have different variants of how degrees of how much of a narcissist somebody is. But once you cross into being a narcissist, meaning you really can only see it from your filter. You can't really see it from another point of view. It still comes back to, I'm hurt. It doesn't matter if you're hurt, I'm hurt. Then that narcissism, no matter where you are on the spectrum, is going to keep you stuck and not feel fulfilled. And if you're willing and able to look at that, you can shift that. But that takes a lot of focus. But again, if you're watching this, more than likely you might just have a little bit, but you're not one. Because narcissists inherently are looking to develop self. They're looking to develop their lives, but not themselves. Because to say there's something that I need to shift is not inherent what a narcissist can or will do. So just some food for thought wherever you're at with that, but please feel free to engage with this video, comment, share, email me, whatever you need to do. Because I really want to put this discussion and this topic out in the open for people to really be able to heal. Whether you possibly have that situation, personality, and want to shift from it and are open to it, or more than likely you're with somebody in some capacity that's impacting you so that you can get to a sense of your own freedom and fulfillment.